And I'm glad to see so many young faces in the audience, because actually what we are doing is for them. Many of those who are present today know perfectly well what has happened in the past. But it is not enough for the survivors to remember and to tell to their family members. It is for the whole society to learn the lessons of the past so that this past does not repeat itself. And I know this is a nice sentence, but it is not so easy to be done in real terms. Belgium, 25,267 people deported to Auschwitz-Birkenau, among them 4,259 children. 3/4 of these human beings were gassed upon arrival. The overwhelming horror of this can only be understood if you do not look at the overall numbers, but if you look at each single human being who is behind these numbers. So many childhoods cut, so many families torn apart, so many lives lost, and so many difficulties for the future life when you had the chance to come back. And if we are to truly learn the lesson of the past, if we are to avoid to repeat what has happened, then we must never forget what has happened. And we must insert this memory not only in history books, but in the civil and political day-per-day action in our societies. And the exhibit which we see around of us helps us to remember. There are 7 stories which are told on these boards. 7 stories among so many others. 7 stories of children who were made to disappear. 7 stories which happened here in Belgium. Many of those here in Brussels, in the city where we live and where we work. The 9-year-old Simon Gronowski, whose family ran a leather shop, or Sali, here in Atterbeek, in our neighborhood. He was arrested with his family while hiding in an apartment in Woluwe. Or the story of Henri Kishka, who at 14 was forced to flee the family home near the Gare du Midi, and of Marie Pinas, who at 13 was seized with her family near Laken. And we are so moved, Madame, Monsieur, that you are here with us today and that you are going to tell your story. But there are so many more of those stories. Henri Ledenhändler, Rick Siffer, Tony and David Suskind. Madame, Monsieur, au nom de tous les autres, vous allez nous transmettre aujourd'hui vos souvenirs. Et en le faisant, vous mettez en évidence tous les autres qui ne sont pas là ce soir avec nous. Parce que le devoir de mémoire qui est écrit sur chacun de ces panneaux, c'est par votre présence que ce devoir de mémoire prend vie. Sinon, ce sont des photos, des souvenirs, mais vous êtes l'expérience vivante et la transmission directe. Un tout grand merci pour votre présence. Parce que c'est en transmettant ce vécu aux générations présentes et futures que nous veillons à ce qu'il n'y ait pas une répétition de l'histoire. Notre histoire récente, celle de la création de l'Union européenne, a justement pris essence dans cette expérience des camps de concentration et de la Shoah. It was built, this European project, on the experiences led in the concentration camps, in the death camps, in the Shoah. And we decided that this would not happen again. That we would build a future where children can live in peace. That we would break once and forever with this past. That we would do things completely differently. That we would build a system which will bring states to sit around the table to sort it out, and not to take the arms in order to kill each other. Now we must say that even if it was difficult, even if the process was long, we managed. And we think, when we think about how we managed, not about this long process, but we think about pictures, images. Who doesn't have the image of Willy Brandt kneeling silently in Warsaw, in its head? Who doesn't have the picture of President Mitterrand and Chancellor Kohl holding hands at Verdun in the head? So politicians have led the way, many of them, but it is not in the Palace of the Élysée or in the Bundestag or here in Brussels that history is made. History is made by very many small steps of very many people. And history is also made in people's minds. And there, let me come to the worries of today. Because although we cannot imagine anymore that two of our member states would get up in arms to fight each other, we see that the dangers of hating the one who is different have not vanished yet. And although we have been capable to eliminate the walls which were dividing us in real terms, we might not yet have managed to get rid of the walls in our minds. And the threats which could break these foundations on which we have built the European Union, which is, per se, a success story of the history of mankind as we have never seen one, it is not done. It is not secure. It is not there forever. It has to be built day by day by day. And for me, the big challenge for the future and for the present today, you see what is happening in some of our member states with populist, extremist parties coming up. The challenge is a question of tolerance. Do we have the tolerance to consider the one who is different from us as a human being? On the exhibit board you can read under each story, un homme reste un homme, quelles que soient ses origines. A human being is a human being from wherever he or she comes. And that is a commitment to human dignity, which we have all taken. And I look at you, Madam President, we politicians first. I look at you, colleague from the European Commission. We as politicians first, we have taken this commitment. We have inscribed it in one of the most beautiful texts which Europe has ever been publishing, the Charter of Fundamental Rights, our European Bill of Rights. But what is the value of a text if the text is not put into practice? We shouldn't be complacent, because our analysis shows that the dangers are still there. We have made a poll across Europe with the Fundamental Rights Agency in Vienna. And the result of this poll is that today, in the 21st century, 1/4 of the Jews say they have experienced some form of anti-Semitism in the last 12 months. Here in Belgium, the figure is 1/3. Now, this is not only an unbearable situation, it is also a very dangerous one, because it is the ground on which the refusal of those who think differently, who look differently, who behave differently, who have a different culture, a different religion, it is the ground on which this rejection and this intolerance grows. And that it is why it is so important that our member states not only do what they have been signed, but that not only repeat what they have signed in words, but do what they have signed up in real terms. We have analyzed the 2008 framework decision on racism and xenophobia, and this report is published today. Now, this legal decision calls on the member states to criminalize those who publicly incite to violence or hatred on the basis of race or origin, or those who publicly condone, deny, or trivialize genocide, crime against humanity, war crime. And you know to what conclusion the report comes? That most member states do not enough to implement this framework decision into real life. So I am calling today, publicly and strongly, to all those member states to finally take action by fully transpose the framework decision into national laws, and by making sure that it is applied in real life. There is no time to waste. And I would like to thank all those, and many of those are in this assembly, who not only say, but act. Just take the Centre Communautaire Laïque Juif, who has organized the exhibit today. An organization which goes to schools with a single, uncompromising message to the young people: La haine, je dis non. Say no to hate. And I think it is the responsibility of all of us, to go out and to discuss with young people, to do that, and to have them as our ambassadors, because even if all those who are in this room go out, that will not enough. But we have to make a wave, a snowball effect. We have to start it so that others take over, that individuals go out, that teachers make it as a normal part of their teaching, to say that tolerance is the basis of a society where you can live in peace and enjoy the quality of freedom, peace, and life which we have. Madam President, our generation has banished the war from our continent. I hope that the next generation who is going to take over will banish discrimination. And let me be that one, my personal wish for today. Thank you.